To our Conscious Leader Circle, where we get together once a month to support each other through these epic and changing and uncertain times to help us feel grounded, energized, and focused, or what I like to say, centered, connected, and conscious. And we always have amazing conscious leaders who join us every week, and guest speakers who are amazing conscious leaders to provide valuable insight and tools to support you on your journey. And our amazing conscious leader guest this week is Nicole Thibodeau, and I'm really excited to introduce her. Nicole is an oracle of divine transmissions. She's a channeler and a mentor who assists spiritually evolving souls to have more clarity and peace and to live in their divinity. But what Nicole is most passionate about is assisting gentle souls to embrace their power and be the master of their life, bringing peace to the planet, one heart at a time. I mean, how beautiful is that? Her topic today is Dare to be Divinely Guided. And Nicole will also be discussing her incredible #1 Amazon international best-selling book, Back to Love Again, A Giver's Guide to Reconnect with Your Strength. So if you're a giver and a gentle soul and you'd like to reconnect with your strength, then today's Conscious Leader Circle is especially for you. So let's welcome Nicole, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Lydia. It's nice to meet you, everyone. It's lovely to be joining this tribe and to be sharing about my own journey and this book, especially. The book is mostly for everybody, of course, who's a giver, but we all have events in our lives where we kind of have to reinvent ourselves. And this book is, I find it fits so well with your circle because I've always been a big and best backliner. You know, there to support everybody. We had our own business at some point. My husband was the leader because he was the one there, but I was taking care of all the administration. I was in the background. I was perfectly there. It was just my spot. Now, like I was saying today, I said, dare to be divinely guided. When I started to receive that I was about to write a book, I had only the title back then, and even somebody had mentioned to me through a channeling that I would become a writer. And I said, no. And then bringing myself forward, that's where it was difficult at times. And writing the book was not always easy because it meant I had to open myself, and especially the day where I received that I had to talk about my own life for the readers to understand where I come from, but mostly what I'm bringing them through the guided meditations and the codes of light, which are images that I channel, why those work so well. So all this work has helped me to bring and birth this book. And that, you know, there are so many challenges. And just before we started, we were talking about when you're highly intuitive and you have your inner gifts, you many times when you're young, you don't know that this is different from somebody else. Because this is your normal. This is who you are. You've always been like that. And nobody else maybe shows or know that you're different. And for me, it's when I had the premonitions that I started to notice that I was maybe different and I felt things that others didn't feel. And that troubled me a lot. And there was one event when I was 17 when I felt my best friend's baby's death. That really knocked me off. And I told God, I said, no way, there's no way I want to continue with that. This is only bad news. This is what I receive. And so I started pushing it back and pushing it back, just, you know, piling everything on top of it so that I could ignore it. And in my early 20s, I started feeling sick. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me. And then he said, well, maybe you're depressed. I wasn't depressed. I mean, you know, I was with my husband, everything was going well. And then having a talk with my father, because my father was a medium and his father was a medium. So he just told me, he said, girl, you know, you have to accept that it is part of you, because if you don't, all you'll do is make yourself sick. Now, you don't have to do anything with it, but you have to accept it is part of you. And that was the key for me, to allow those gifts to be there. And I'd say be cohabitate with those inner gifts and not embrace them totally, but it's okay. They're part of me, but I'm safe. I don't have to do anything with it. So that helped me a lot to let go of the stress and having to suppress those gifts. Well, I did repeat many times, I don't want to hear anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to see anything. And, you know, when you were talking before, you know, if you don't go up the mountain will come to you. Then one day, a friend of mine was just divorced and had no money, and she so wanted to be initiated to Reiki. And she tells me, she said, if I bring 5 people, I don't have to pay. And I so want to do that. Okay, fine, I'll go so you can do it. Little did I know that was the universe just conspiring to bring me naturally and gently into the path I was going to undertake. So I was initiated in Reiki, and I started with that. I wasn't at ease to do it in person, so I kind of mastered doing it by distance. And I started to feel things and see things, and felt my hands going into the body, touching body parts, like, you know, the brain, the kidneys, and it was just like, but I couldn't hear. And, you know, I never heard anyone talking about this, so I wouldn't say anything. It's just like, oh, again, I'm weird. And but, you know, back then, that was early 90s, there wasn't a lot of people talking. There wasn't social media to find groups or find like-minded people or people that were practicing together. So it was way different. And my teacher had moved away, so I had nobody. And then gently I continued and felt guided and allowed myself. And it was, but as long as it stayed to the Reiki by distance, I felt safe. Until I allowed myself to really receive my guidance, allowed it to be part of me and receive. And many times it's little confirmations that come. And in the beginning, it's not something that's going to be huge. Yes, it can happen. But if we become conscious of it, it's going to be little things, and then you receive confirmation that, yeah, your intuition was right. I will give you an example. Is one day I was parking away from my job, and I'm walking away towards the subway, and I hear inside of me, you forgot to put your parking pass. I said, nah, it's always there. I'm not going back. I'm already at the subway. And left it at that, forgot about it, came back, I had a ticket. So that was the darn, I should have listened to that inner voice that was telling me, you know, this is it. But that was confirmation that what I was receiving is true, and learning that it's not coming through my mind. I'm not thinking about it. So it's just making the difference between when you're thinking and when you receive a message. When you're thinking, you really feel it in the frontal lobes in the front of your, and when you receive a message, many times, if people are clairaudient, then they will hear a voice that is not necessarily part of them. But for me, it's really a message that comes from deep within me, and it comes up. So some people say it comes from really deep down in your belly and it comes up, it comes through the heart. And there's this inner knowing that this is it's gonna be, this is what you need to do, this is the path you need to do. So there were easy ways for me to learn to work with my inner guidance, was really to ask for simple things. You know, as I would put my hand on the fridge, and still to this day I do it just because I love doing it. I just ask before, what is the best food that my body needs today at this moment? And then I wait for a few seconds and I receive, and I open the fridge. And many times, if it's just because I feel like nibbling, I open the fridge and there's nothing there to eat. Or then I'll be guided to eat certain vegetables or certain meats, or, you know, whatever is there that is the best for me in that moment. And I've done that also with, you know, which color should I wear today to hold the energy for me for the day. You know, sometimes we get up, we feel a little bit offbeat. And so those were little things. But when I was doing that, mostly I had 4 children at home. We were working. My mom was in a long-term care, and I was very, very busy. So I had to do things that were quick, easy, and very fast, to have fast answers. And that's the way I continued until I had a surgery. And I had an internal hemorrhage. And at that point, well, of course, I saw this big light, and I felt like I was totally pushed back abruptly into my body. But when I got back to myself, it was just, okay, there's no more sitting on the fence. There's no bad decision. You go fully into your gifts, or you don't. But there's no more sitting on the fence. You have to make a choice. But remember, there's no bad choice. It's not like you'll be judged or you'll be punishment. It's just you have to choose which path you're taking now. And when I came back home, it became clear that I was to engage into my spiritual path fully and open myself and show up as who I am, truly and divinely. And that's why now that, you know, I work with people to really connect deeply with their inner guidance, to connect to the divine within them, and to dare to be that divine being that they are. I always say we're divine humans, but that's one word. Divine humans, that's what we are. We're not just divine, we're not just humans, we're divine humans. So there's this, our soul chose this incarnation to experience certain things. And now I'm like everybody. I have my human moments where I have my human tantrums. And when that happens, now I stopped judging myself, because I've accepted my spiritual path and my divine self. It doesn't mean that I'll always be perfect, like always then. So when I have those human tantrums, I trust that my divine self is holding me, allowing me, giving me the space that I'm stressing out, you know, or I have a fear that comes up, and just embrace that this is the human side, and my soul has chosen to experience the humanity, and I will not deny that to my soul. So it's really bringing this balance between the two of them. And that's why in the book, there's many things. It's, you know, it's my journey. It starts early on, being brought up and fearing my father, and, you know, the fear we experienced, and everything that wasn't healed, I carried on into adulthood and brought more problems to me. I was working until I had a burnout. And when I had the burnout, at some point, I was kind of lifted out of my body, just a little bit. And I heard everybody's conversations all at once. And it was, every conversation was so negative. And that was so unusual for me to have such an experience. And then all I heard was, and now you understand why you are drained. I didn't know back then that I was an empath. So I was gathering all that, absorbing all the energies of everybody else. And it was just like draining me. And so I decided that I would quit my job, not just like that, but I asked God to guide me into what I needed to do next. If that is not where I need to be, then, so I started reading. I was guided to books, going into a library and just asking before I enter, what is the best book for me right now in this moment, where what I need to know, what I need to learn. And I ended up with this book that was Maggie Lebrun that wrote that book. She worked with the dying people, assisting the dying. And it was doctors from heavens and doctors from the earth. And that brought me on this path of wanting and just like longing to be there and assist the dying people. I didn't know what I wanted, why it was so strong, but that was calling me so deeply. And as I was doing my process of asking God to guide me, if I needed to go leave my job, now that was I had like 10 years seniority. I had 5 weeks vacation a year. I had a pension plan. I had the whole thing, the whole package. And I was going against society's thought of, when you have such a job, you keep it. But that such a job was, draining me. So it wasn't the best for me. And one day I came to work, and that was it. I went into my boss's office and I told him, I said, you know what? I've chosen to retire. I didn't say I quit. I said, I retire. So he thought it was pretty weird at 30 years old to say I retire, but that's what I felt I was doing. And within a few weeks, my mother-in-law called me to announce that she had cancer. And within 8 months, she died from cancer. She's the first one that I accompanied. And I did thank her for giving me the opportunity to be there for her and to know that was really what I wanted to do. Back then, that was the only thing. And my sister had a friend that was a volunteer in a palliative care unit in the hospital. And she called me and talked with me, and she said, we want you to come and work with us. So I had to work with a psychologist, and it was a big team. And I was there for some years, and they taught me a lot. Well, the biggest teaching they taught me is being fully present in the moment. Nothing else matters. It was really, really being present in the moment and really breathing in that moment, and not wait into those expectations. As for them, it was the most vulnerable moment of their life. They're needing somebody all the time. And I met some amazing people, and I still remember some of them so vividly, the way they were talking, what they were saying, and the messages they give you in the end. And after that, I was guided to stay home with my children. That's when my mother started to be ill. And it's only after we have adopted 2 daughters, it's after we were doing the second adoption. And that's when my mother received her diagnosis that she had Parkinson's disease. So I stayed home with the 4 children, and she ended up in a long-term care. Even though she wasn't at home, there were many phone calls. I had to be present for her and all that. So again, I didn't care for myself. I didn't do the self-care. I didn't do the self-love. So I ignored again all the signs because I thought burnout meant only when you work in a business. Well, burnout is not only that, is when you're stretching yourself thin, when you're giving to everybody around you and not giving to yourself, and ignoring your needs at the same time. So I had to learn again with this burnout that I had to learn to say no and set some healthy boundaries with people. Of course, it did not please everybody, but I had the support from the most important person in my life, which is my husband. And that's important. One, for me, it's my husband, but we all have friends that will bring the support also. And it's important to cherish these people as they help us. And maybe they don't last all your life as a friend. Sometimes they're just there for a temporary moment to help us to move through certain events, certain steps or moments in our lives. And then they go on their way. It's a little bit like having a human guide in your life. They just share with you, they just listen to you. And after my mother passed away, that's when I had the surgery, and I started finding all kinds of courses, and I did the Sacred Mystery School from Gaia's. That's when I started channeling, started doing some other healing by distance. And the first 9 months of that school, I was sick. I was so sick. Every time I opened up as a channel, I would have migraines, throw up. I was really out of sorts. But then when we started the healing with the angelic mothers, I was just like a fish in water. Nothing else, nothing happened. And there's something that changed completely, was healed within me. And of course, sometimes what's at play, it's not always what we're living right now, this lifetime. There's, the history and all the energies that we carry from one lifetime to another. To understand that, I was thinking of when you meet somebody that you don't know, and right away you just feel yourself cringing. It's just like, this person, it's just like, I can't stand that person. Or you feel the hairs just standing up on your arms. It's just like, no. And there's other people that you meet, and it's just, you just want to run to them and hug them, but you don't know them. So I've experienced both. And it's pretty funny when you find yourself with somebody that you just want to hug, but you got to hold back and say, I don't know this person. But this is people that we have met in another life. And sometimes when there's discord with some people, it might not be you or them physically in this timeline, but it's the history from another time, another life. Those are what I call our aspects that are at play. And those are the ones having the little riot. Not you, but sometimes we don't get it, we don't understand it. And so it's something that I worked with. And in the first chapter of my book, I talk about fear, and the meditation is really bringing the peace to these parts of us that fear, that hold fear. Maybe it sometimes with this fear, it seems it has no foundation, but it does. It does somewhere else. It has, so we go to the source of that to heal that. And it opens up another part for us to explore, to go into. And for everyone who has a business, who's a CEO or anything, many times there are different fears that we experience. It can be the fear of being seen, the fear of speaking up, and all of that. We can go and work with that and ask to be guided at the same time to express exactly what the people need to express and to hear, what they need to hear in that moment for that meeting, for that project. And this is a process that we can do even the day before we have the meetings, is call in to your divine presence, your guides, to prepare the energies with the guides and the divine presences of the other people that will be in that meeting, that will be on that project, to prepare the energies for the greatest good of all, always for the greatest good of all. And that prepares everything, and it helps for things to go more smoothly for everybody. And it is, a mastery. And if just that, when I share, ask your divine presence and their divine presences to prepare the energies, if only that gives you the shortcut that you need and not to have to experience everything I experienced, it's a big win for you and for everybody with whom you will share that. And to trust that your divine presence holds that divine wisdom, that divine love, that divine energy that you're seeking outside. It's all within you. And that's the work I do with my clients, is really for them to go within and find within, deeply within them, connect deeply to that sacred energy, that sacred love that they have within them. And then we can expand in our own being and expand in the love and the light and be more present for ourselves, have more self-love. And from there, it's much easier to irradiate, emanate the love. And then when somebody comes and loves you, you're not asking yourself the question, am I worthy of this love? Because you know you're love. So.
Well, thank you, Nicole. That was magnificent. I mean, everything that you shared, your personal journey, it's so similar, I think, to many of ours, and I can certainly relate to many of your experiences on your own evolutionary journey. Did you want to open it up to chat with the group?
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. Anybody want to share or have questions for Nicole? I had one actually functional question for you. Your symbol that you have, what is that?
This
Yeah.
one, that's my logo. That's a code, actually. And when the funny story is, I was trying to get a logo, and I ended up with a logo that looked similar to another person, and I was really upset. And what I received was, you can draw your own logo. So I drew this, and then I received what it meant, and it means standing in your power.
Wow. So are those your own letters, or is that an ancient language, or is that
That's light language?
Yeah.
That's the universal language of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle, it's a glyph. So, it means standing in your power. And every time somebody looks at it, it helps them to receive the energy for them to stand in their power.
Yeah, it's magnificent. I noticed it when you were speaking, so I wanted to inquire, and I thought everyone might like to know what that is, because that's certainly channeled. You channeled that, right?
Yes, yes. So the codes that are in the codes of light in my book are art like that.
Oh.
Or they're different. I mean, there's, some are more intricate, but this one was for the work that I do with people, was standing in your power. And actually, this is the work I do, is helping people to embrace their divine power.
Well, this is magnificent. This is exactly what we need on the planet at this time, as we go through this phenomenal paradigm shift from, 13,500 years of darkness into the light. it's time for humanity and all sentient beings on the planet to have the opportunity to reclaim their sovereignty. And we need help with that. So you're here to help us with that, as a lot of us are. But your story is very powerful. And anybody have any questions or want to comment on anything that Nicole has shared with us today so far?
I could share.
Sure, Jenny.
Hi, thank you, Nicole. I was inspired by your journey, and there was parts of it that I saw perhaps myself in there, or elements of it. It was very empowering, and I think I like the idea of thinking versus receiving. And from your talk, it kind of got me to think about, I'm still trying to fine tune that, and to know what's the thinking versus the receiving part of it, right? When messages come to you, and just like your story about the ticket that you got from your car. And the other thing that really resonated with me was just the idea of, I think developing that intuition was asking, like putting your hand on the fridge and asking, what is it that I want? So that sort of got me to think about how can I bring more of that into my life as well? When you mentioned that, I really like that, because it really just allows me to honor myself. Because I think I'm in a place right now where I feel like everyone else has been running my life, from my parents to my sister to other people. And I've just discovered that for myself is that I think about others instead of myself. And I've been hiding a lot of times. And I discovered that, and it just sitting with that and the impact it had on me, it's just not really honoring myself and asking, what do I want? Because I've never asked myself that. I've always gone to others or deferred my power to others over time. And then, yeah, and the other, yeah. So anyways, and then I loved how you said about just sitting on the fence, because I've been so indecisive in my life, and I don't make decisions, and the frustration is building and all of that. So just hearing that, you just have to make, I just like how you said, you just have to make a choice. And no choice is a bad choice, right? So those are things from your talk that have inspired me today. So thank you.
Thank you. And it's easy to say to have self-compassion for ourselves. And one easy way for you to have the compassion, I would invite you to imagine, if I was telling you all that you just expressed, that I have a hard time taking my place in life, all the good vibes and all the good words that you would be giving me, I invite you to give those to yourself.
That's great. Thank you.
It's the same support. We're so, as a giver, we're so open to giving to others. And if you give as much to yourself, you'll be as present, if not even more, for others. But not diminishing yourself, not, draining your energy, so you'll always be there fully aligned, fully energized, and that's going to help you a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
And you'll know what is for you to be there to help and when not to.
That's good. And I think I've just discovered in the last little while, maybe through the pandemic, that we have to give to ourselves, and that relationship with ourselves, right? And if I'm having those negative thoughts, I'm actually hurting myself. And I recognize that, like, that negative thought is only hurting myself. I think it's being projected to others or anything like that. And it's just trying to develop that relationship for myself. So everything that, like you said, I said to you, take that for myself and really just allow myself to embrace it. Yeah.
Yes, because we haven't been taught to love ourselves.
Yeah, no one taught us how to do that. So I'm trying to learn that now, step by step. So thank you.
I had a life-changing realization related to all of that just recently. Seemed to be no end of life-changing realizations, which was that I have been focusing completely on the public role. What can I bring to the world to help transform human civilization so that we get where we need to go, and get what humans really are. And when I realized that what the overmind, whatever, has been trying to do is to say to me, It's your private life that is the missing link. You got to let yourself receive the private life, the earthly life. It's amazing that the next step on the spiritual path is to be more earthly, not in the sense of more productive or more practical, but in the sense of honoring the inner child, honoring the domain of steadiness on the physical level, which is less heroic appearing. Speaking, the spiritual macho thing, less heroic appearing. It's more normal, and normal in the sense of relaxing. It's also more relatable to 3D people if my own life is complete, and so that it's not about trying to give more, it's about receiving more, which will automatically give out to the world. And so to actually prioritize the private life instead of this sort of Piscean age, last 2,000 years, self-abnegation business, or that the spiritual bliss and the worldly comforts are not distinct and are not in conflict. They just need to be prioritized in a particular way. You don't chase the things of the world, but you don't deny them. So there's just something about let yourself think of and feel my personal life as being comfy, that the sensual domain and the emotional domain and the relational domain can settle into the depth and the steadiness that is wanted, which then liberates incredible energy to do everything else. So, like I said, I call it a spiritual Che Guevara complex. He leaves behind a family of 4 kids and a wife and goes off and gets his ass killed in Bolivia. I'm not criticizing at all. And, it's heroic. And stop putting the pleasure of the self and the service of others in any kind of conflict. So it's a complete shift in the ability to receive, because I know I've had miracles up the wazoo, but it's the steadiness that is wanted now. And steadiness usually involves a complete perspective shift. And you go, oh, never thought of that. Whoa, and so I just had to share that because it ties in with what the two of you have been talking about.
And as you're talking, Richard, it's the quote from Thich Nhat Hanh that came to mind is, walk on this earth as if your feet are kissing the earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gentleness at the same time that you bring, but you're living in the moment. Thich Nhat Hanh is really an advocate for living in the moment and embracing each of the moments that we're living.
And I think it's about, because not focusing on spiritual, an idea of enlightenment or an idea of accomplishment, whether spiritual or so-called physical, but simply relax about the accomplishment business. There's 3 earth signs, and that's a Capricorn thing. Trying to be perfect is a Virgo thing, but Taurus is about oh, that feels good. Oh yeah. How about we fix this for dinner tonight? And it's not the ultimate, but it's a part of the big picture where the infinite and the finite, what's that great line from Blake? Eternity is in love with the productions of time. That to allow that, he even had another one, sooner murder an infant in its cradle than nurse unacted desires. So to allow the worldly desires, you don't chase them, but you just say, yeah, they're part of the picture, and I embrace that total landing in the place of worldly joy in harmony with the transcendental. And that is the prototype that we need, I really believe, for the humans. It's not a few yogis up in the monastery, but it's down there fixing dinner,
Yep. The best recipes I've ever made was the kids would be rambunctious and all that, and I would be cooking, and then I would just connect to Divine Mother and ask Divine Mother to help me to make this recipe the best for everybody. And every time the kids would say, what did you do, Mom? This is just so good. It doesn't taste like usual. It's the best yet. Just like, thank you, Divine Mother. But I would never reveal my secret.
I exactly. One last quickie, and which is that there's one time I was living with an artist in art school, and very sensual, and perfect teacher for me at that time. And I was just standing in her living room, just trying to meditate, eyes open, and she wanted to make out, right? And it wasn't quite working. And I finally just gave in to the kiss and landed in meditation instantly and went, wow, file that one. Another duality bites the dust, right?
Oh, wonderful. So anybody else? This is such a beautifully engaging and deep conversation about our journeys, right? Integrating the spiritual and the material and the challenges and the joys, right, of the awakening to having full or awakening more into the greater spiritual consciousness while being on the earth, while being a human being. And one of the things that Nicole shared. Why don't we talk about that, Nicole? Nicole, it's available. Do you offer sessions, programs, that sort of thing? You can work with Nicole. And then she has this phenomenal book that I encourage everybody to buy. She put the link and everything in the chat. Did you want to share a little bit about what you offer, Nicole?
Right now I work with beautiful clients. I work one-on-one because that's the, for now, that's the way I prefer to work. And the programs, there's one is Embrace Your Divine Power. That's a year-long program. And I work with 12 chakras. So there's one chakra we work with every month, and it's with the codes. And there's, I call them alignment sessions. So there's, that can be a channeling, a dimensional coaching, dimensional healing. It depends what's going on for the person at that moment in their life and in the module that they're working in. And there's the other one, which is Unveil Your Inner Gifts. That's a 3-month program. And it's really, there's 3 phases in that program. That one is about the importance of meditation, and the second one is to begin to receive your inner guidance, and the third one is working with Archangel Raphael for healing. I have some people, this was created to help people that I had fear with their inner gifts or didn't know what to do, what it feels like. So that's more like a starter. And then, to my surprise, I had people that had been working with Reiki for many years, and they just wanted to reconnect and go deeper, and that's how things evolve. So those are the 2 programs that I have. And I also have my private Facebook group that I do some guided meditations every week. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. I started to do dimension healing, and that's quite amazing.
Wonderful. And your book, a little bit about your book, and then we'll go into our guided meditation and long distance Reiki.
My book is that now it's available in Barnes and Noble's chapters and on Amazon. And I figure that probably everybody is from Canada here. So I put the Canadian link. I think only in Chapters Indigo has it only in ebook, but Barnes and Nobles and Amazon have both the paperback and the ebook. And it's a full colored book.
Oh, nice.
So yes, I wanted to add a little bit of color. I wanted my codes to be in color to bring the full energy, the full frequency of them. And then with the price, and then I said, if we add, like for the meditation, we added a little something. And I said, is that more expensive? And she said, no, just you put color, then I said, then let's go full color. So now they suggested something, and the pages are just so amazing to read through. It makes reading, I open it just to look at the pages because it's so much fun, and it makes the reading lighter and more inviting. That's the word I would say.
Well, wonderful. So magnificent and beautiful in every way, right? Everything, like your book, the content, the imagery, and everything that you offer. So thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us today, and just being a beautiful soul and pioneer, right, of healing, and a conscious leader of our time, and the richness of the experiences that you shared today. I know are going to touch everybody who listens to them, and we'll share them to help us make this transition, right? To help us connect at different stages in our own journeys. As Jenny was saying, right from a greater awareness, exercises of greater awareness of what we're feeling and where is it coming from, then to feeling more comfortable living in that state, and then into greater integration of spirit and matter, where there's an ease, right? Now you have the ease of living in this way after your incredible journey. And that's what we all want to evolve with, is that inner ease of living in the two worlds, and creating this new paradigm of light, as I like to call it, that's coming in over really, I guess, still the next 80 years or so, but we're certainly rapidly moving towards that. And we're the brave souls, as all souls on the planet are brave, but we're the brave souls who are are becoming more conscious of what we're here for and why, and of this great transformation on the planet. So thank you again, Nicole. And Richard, would you like to lead a guided meditation today? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Richard.
Wanted to say thank you for having me today, Lydia,
Yes,
for inviting me.
Oh, it's an honor and pleasure. And you mentioned we live close to each other, so we'll have to continue our connection for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Richard's back. So, and then what we do is, while Richard's, so you're going to do a guided meditation, Richard?
Yeah, like a 5-minute thing or so.
Yeah, sure. And while Richard's doing that, I will be channeling long distance Reiki to the group. Okay, so let's take a nice deep breath. And imagine yourself in a beautiful place, in perfect health in every way. Oh, sorry, we'll just mute, except for Richard. Yana, if you don't mind muting. Yeah, well, everybody will just mute after. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So imagine yourself in a beautiful place, in perfect health in every way, and that infinite river of gold and white light coming in, healing every cell in your body. Richard.
Okay. So let's begin to get used to this feeling of being a spiritual trillionaire that we are in touch with. We are inheriting the infinite abundance of the one being who owns all and controls all and lives in all. And we are one with that. So begin to get used to being loved beyond anything we could think of love as being. Of riches beyond anything in the form world, which extend into the form world from the formless world of our own consciousness. Consciousness that is the clay from which we make up every single experience, every thought, every feeling, every sensory aesthetic experience, every relational experience, every accomplishment, and every situation, all coming from one ecstasy called by whatever name. One presence called by whatever name, one power, one joy. And so to let ourselves relax into that presence, that formless substance, that formless fulfillment, that feeling of being one with this infinite presence that contains and transcends all, and to let ourselves receive from that presence that which love wants for us, that which love wants for us. A level of generosity that we can hardly even begin to comprehend, if ever, but we can receive, we can attune to it, we can just say, okay, I'm willing for that magnificence to adore me, to understand that it is me, and that every identity I've made up, the biggest ego trip ever, is far less than the greatness of what and who I really am, which is also the greatness of what is inside everyone, which is awakened by my resonance with the greatness in me. As me, it vibrates other people into their own greatness. that this is the future, this is the presence, this is the future that's contained in the present, this is the healing of the so-called past, this is a brand new life, this is born again in the spirit, this is what all the scriptures and the wisdoms have been talking about. This is mine, this is mine, and it automatically spreads to the world effortlessly just by experiencing it, just by receiving it, both as this ocean of fulfillment inside and as a kindness that shows up outside. We let go of martyrdom. Martyr just means witness in Greek. We let go. Sacrifice just means to make sacred, which means to infuse something with love and joy is what makes it sacred. And so we let ourselves experience that perfection, filtered down through our personality into the world. We let ourselves receive and experience the perfection around us, to receive what the divine is giving us each moment. And that is what makes us a spiritual trillionaire, is the willingness to receive that which cannot be earned because it's greater than anything we could even think of. You cannot equal it. You can only receive it and become it and effortlessly distribute it to the world just by feeling it and letting that perfect feeling, which is also perfect intelligence, which is also perfect power, come through us and allow us to be one with the world without being caught up in the world, because our first foot is in the infinite, which then allows us to experience the finite. And as Blake said, eternity is in love with the productions of time. And so to experience eternity, to experience that which does not change and that is always fulfilling, we can then relax into the ups and downs of the world without being caught up in the ups and downs of the world, having the worldly emotions, but having our fulfillment come from someplace beyond this world, and that therefore we bring that spiritual trillionaireness to this world and give enormous thanks to be allowed to live this way.
So we'll take a nice deep breath. And we'll just slowly return. I thank you, Richard. Always love your guidance.
I always love the opportunity because I get to experience it while sharing it.
Okay, so it's 12:08. So any other questions, comments for today? And if you'd like to stay on after, sometimes we stay on and chat after the session. So anyone's welcome to do that. But anything else for today? Anyone want to share or have questions? No?
I just wanted to add that I added the links for the book, because when people buy the book, they can, if they put in the on the book, let me rephrase that, on the book link itself, you will have all the details for when you buy the book to receive a guided meditation. And I also added my website. There we go.
Wonderful, thank you. And I encourage everyone to connect with Nicole and experience her special gifts and her incredible light. And with Richard. Richard's available for his one-on-one sessions, and he's developing workshops and is available if you have retreats as a guest speaker. And so Richard put his contact information in the chats as well. So thank you again for everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to become more centered in your core energy, connected to your inner power, and conscious of who you are, what your thoughts and beliefs are, and how you live in the world. So wishing you all the best and hope to see you next month at our Conscious Leader Circle.